Mm.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Uh, this
Brian.
is this is what did I say? This is maintaining frame.
Men do not like being executed.
Why though?
Do they?
Why?
Do they? Is the question.
Why don't men?
Why men don't like being executed? That was a mistake on my part. It was supposed to say excluded, and for some reason I put in executed.
That's a mistake I would do.
But in my defense, we are talking about people who probably wouldn't care if men were executed. So
In some cases, yeah. Or just not executed, because that requires an effort. They would just like men to just sort of
die.
Disappear. You just
melt
sort of
away.
fall into a hole,
Yeah.
Just sort of like take themselves away and never come back and just vaporize somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, I sympathize with you, Brian, because I probably would have been like, men don't like to be excommunicated.
Yeah.
Or some sort of X word.
Exited. It was I made a mistake on that. But
yeah, well,
some of you may be looking at a title that isn't that. It's called Understanding Andrew Tate's Appeal. And you might be looking at that, like I think on YouTube, that's what the title says. But on other places, it'll say
you have tuned in to find out why men do not like to be executed.
Or dude, I don't know, man. No, I'm just yeah. So, and let us know in the comments, like, if you like being executed or if you know anyone who likes being executed.
Kind of missed the introductions this time.
Men not being executed is misogyny. Yes, that's right. Make the sacrifice.
Make the sacrifice,
Stop
men.
bullshitting and get executed.
Honestly, in defense of the title, I recently saw a tweet on Twitter, and it's not quite as severe as, men not wanting to be executed being misogyny, but there was an article that actually pointed out that boys are, there was a social worker or psychologist who has been helping kids through childhood traumas. And she says that she's getting constant referrals from boys who've been basically falsely accused or accused of things that were once very innocent, like asking a girl out, maybe being awkward while doing it, and who have suddenly been socially ostracized or been forced to change. And this woman, Proud Man, who's ironically named.
Oh, I know who she is.
Yeah,
well,
feminist
I've heard the name before.
Barrister, and she basically the article's title was "Boys Are Getting Their Lives Ruined," and she said, "Well, I mean, so what if boys are having their lives ruined in order to protect girls from, sexual discomfort? Because it's at this point, it's basically sexual discomfort." Yeah. And it's like, well, at what point do you start saying, okay, too much? It's too much. We're expecting boys to sacrifice too much. Okay, so their lives become ruined. They have no recourse, so they're just ruined, and they might as well just kill themselves because they're not going to get into college because of the stink of these rumors, or maybe even disciplinary actions based on allegations that may have, in a reasonable sense, been proven false. So it's like, at what point? At what stage do feminists say, okay, that's enough? Men have sacrificed enough for us. Maybe we should pull it. There's no stage. There is no stage at which there is no point, there is no line, there is no flag where they stop and say, okay, men have sacrificed enough. I guarantee it. So maybe the execution is like 30 years in the future when Bindle finally gets her way. Yeah. But it's coming. Unless we collapse first, which, probably that's gonna be the way we go. Oh boy, that was pretty depressing. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm defending your title, Brian. That's my intent.
Appreciate it. So the article we're going to be looking at today.
Oh yeah, we should tell that. I have drank too much caffeine, by the way. That's why. Caffeine. What? I drank too much caffeine. That's why I'm squirreling.
Oh, I see. That's okay. I mean, like, I drink a lot of coffee too. And I understand the energy. I'll just put it that way. I understand, what like this does to a squirrel like you. So
What?
She's like a, overly energetic, like otter, but a land otter. So I think that's a squirrel. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay then.
Just being silly. I think it helps for us to be able to laugh at shit while the world burns. All right. So anyway, the article is from theconversation.com, and it's entitled "The Draw of the Manosphere: Understanding Andrew Tate's Appeal to Lost Men." Now, I know it seems like we're talking about Andrew Tate again, but I just want to say I don't really have an interest in talking about Andrew Tate. To me, Andrew Tate is the current, like, avatar of misandric hatred. Like, basically, he's just a current target because everyone was talking about him, because he has a lot of influence. This could have easily just been called Understanding Jordan Peterson's Appeal to Lost Men. It's like it could have easily been any number of influencers and, I wouldn't even say they're pro-male. They're more like I don't know. Like they
don't shit on men?
Yeah, they just don't shit on men. Exactly. They don't attack men. So I'm like, for those of you who are rolling your eyes and saying, why are we talking about this guy again? This article's not about him. I mean, it claims to be, but it's not. I think a lot of these, like, anti-critical of Andrew Tate articles that get written, well, most of the time, they don't even know what the guy has done. There's just a lot of assumptions. And in addition to that, I think that, yeah, like I said, these men can be switched and swapped, like, whenever. Because what they want to attack is the idea that there are men who want to get their they want to free themselves from this, what would you call it, school marm control system that's basically trying to, like, tell them what they are, tell them, like, that they're worthless, tell them that they shouldn't desire to live their life the way they want, how they see fit. And that's all that is. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, let's not get too hung up on the Andrew Tate part of this, unless, of course, you guys, like Allison, wants to. It's up to her, but I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
One thing.
Did I lose Allison? She's muted. Allison, you're muted.
Okay. Oh boy, that was dumb. Because I was speaking, but I was agreeing with you. And, like, this isn't about Andrew Tate. And it never is, really, because Andrew Tate will be followed by Blandrew Fate and then Candrew Mate, and then it'll just be the next one.
The next one.
They pop out like Pez every couple of years, as far as I can tell. And they are responding to the same kind of impulse, which is exactly what you're talking about. And you called it school marmish kind of control. I would say it is expecting men to be morally subordinate, to subordinate their desires, their interests, what they do, to the quote unquote benefit of women, or at least, and often it isn't really even the benefit of women. It's just the benefit of a particular ideology that has claimed the center of the board, which is benefiting women. So it's yeah, they're just trying to get out from under that and feel some sense of self-worth beyond just service. And I would say that a lot of the men, and this might be offensive, but I don't think that Andrew Tate appeals to a very self-aware crowd of men.
Yeah.
Or the people, the men who are like Andrew Tate. So instead of actually pushing back against a lot of the overarching framework that justifies judging men, they almost adopt, like, feminists have basically said that masculinity is toxic. And I've had one person, and when I probed, she said she didn't even really identify as a feminist, who actually identified positive masculine traits. All the other feminists I've asked are completely incapable of identifying positive traits that they associate with masculinity in the same way they associate negative ones that are often actually just human foibles, by the way, or flaws or moral failings. And when you have that situation where you got this large body or this very powerful lobbying force that has defined men as toxic, in order to be seen as men, they have to embrace these toxic behaviors. Does that make sense? So essentially,
they have to become what they're being accused of. Otherwise, they won't be seen as men.
Otherwise, they're basically being told that they're not men, or they've basically identified being a man with these toxic behaviors. And then, shocked Pikachu face, there's a whole bunch of men who are identifying with those toxic behaviors as being manly. Like, what did you expect? Jeez.
But it's what they want, because now they have a place to point the finger. So,
but they basically box them in. It's like you're
they
either
set the game board. They put the men on it, and then they let them try to struggle in this environment that they made for them. And then when they do something, bad, or because of it, then they get to say, look, see, this is what men are like.
And then they also define masculinity in these terms, and then they're surprised that guys who, maybe have nothing else in their lives end up clinging to the very thing that they said masculinity is, because people will cling to a negative identity to avoid having no identity. That's God honest truth about human beings.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, oh my God, where did this come from? It came from you. It came from mainstream media or establishment media. It came from academia. It came from these government programs. It came from feminism. You define men this way.
Yeah.
And you gave them one place. You gave them one place to take any kind of sense of self. And you are so surprised to find men in that place where you told them to be. Like, what are you, dumb? And anyway, it's just, it's amazing to me that this needs to even be pointed out. And this is not a message that's going to go very far because we don't get a huge reach, but this is the thing. And then on the other hand, you have the men who are interested or follow men like Andrew Tate, who sort of embrace the negative to have any kind of identity at all, instead of pushing back against what they have said about men. I'm not going to defend Andrew Tate. I'm not going to say he's guilty until, there's a guilty charge. But, it seems to be, from what I've read, that his presentation of masculinity is right in line with what feminists say masculinity is. The problem is that they're finding that men would rather embrace these negative things than get rid of an identity entirely.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Like I said, people would rather be a villain than a nothing.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what you've done.
It's something. We'll know your name one way or the other, right?
So instead of pushing back against being boxed in, I guess they take pride in being box shaped, I guess. I don't know. Anyway.
The stream might... Oh no, it turned back. Dude, my kilobytes per second are absolutely random. I don't know why. This is weird. but it's going from 1,000 something to, like 0. So I don't know why that is, but if you guys are having issues on your end, try to be patient. I don't know, need to do something.
Oh yeah, it went back to 0.
See, it went back to 0, and now it's up to 149, and now it's 0 again. I don't understand. I just don't get it.
Our internet?
Well, it is the internet, but I don't know if it's like.
Well, I can hear you fine. I wonder if it's something through Restream. Like I could log in and take a look.
No, I mean I don't know. Looks like it's okay.
It's because we're talking about Tater.
Yeah, right. We haven't even started yet. Okay. I don't know if it's gonna remain stable, but it's
it's all over the map.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's going from your stream.
It says check your encoder settings. Does that help?
Audio. Okay. What?
Check your encoder settings. Keyframe interval 1.39 recommended 2.
Is that under the settings for my OBS?
I think it might be under OBS. Yeah, that would be the encoder, right?
Yeah. Encoder settings. Let me just take a look. I mean, it seems to be relatively stable.
On Restream, it's looking excellent. Has anybody said anything on the in the chat?
No, they're not complaining. They're just mainly, I guess, they're experiencing.
They're noticing it.
Yeah, they're experiencing some lag. Let's see. I'm just gonna double check it, okay? So I see general settings, stream, output, audio, video, hotkeys, accessibility, advanced.
Probably stream, right?
I think stream is like.
Oh, output.
Yeah, like how do
on
you
my
connect?
On my end, it's looking good.
All right, well.
Maybe it's okay.
Maybe it's okay. I get a little anxious when I see those numbers dance like that. It doesn't make sense to me, but.
Yeah, well,
right
like
now,
you said,
the kilobytes are about 800, so that's okay. And now 515.
Oh god, it's going back down.
I know, it's nuts. 78.
Oh yeah, it is.
Well, we're just gonna.
Wow, this is a roller coaster.
We're gonna power through it.
Check your encoder settings. So I don't know if that is something to do or if it's just.
I don't know where that is. I can't find that in my OBS, and in my I don't know. Okay, so let's just start the article. Sorry, guys. I just don't really. I really don't want. No, I don't have a VPN. I really don't want to. First of all, make this too long, but also, tempt fate.
It is in settings output.
Well, hopefully everything just keeping on.
I might not change it.
Can we get? Would Lindsay be willing to read the article?
Sure.
Yeah. And also, I want to remind everybody, please send your super chows through at feedthebadger.com/justthetip to avoid YouTube censorship and make sure we get the full benefit of your moulahs. So once again, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And I also want to remind everyone that I did start the fundraiser early this month so that we could maybe get into paying off a bit more of Brian's income for the next part of his next month's recovery. Although you sound really good today, Brian.
I'm getting better, but I still have
movement
issues. Some to a lesser degree, clarity. And I feel like I forget things, and still. But I mean, I feel better. I also have fatigue.
Yeah.
I get tired very quickly.
So that's why we're trying to keep the streams short. But if you would like to support the show for the month to make sure we can continue to do this content and also cover whatever if Brian needs more time off or whatever, please go to feedthebadger.com/support and put a few shekels in the hat. I will, you know what? I think it's a little early to do arm twisting, but maybe I will, maybe I won't, depending on how I'm feeling. So let's get into the article.
All right.
All right.
Go ahead, babe. Sorry.
Mega influencer Andrew Tate is once again back in the news as he battles charges of organized crime and human trafficking in Romania. Just a note on that. I've heard that he actually hasn't been charged with anything and he's just being held.
Yeah, they're just holding him. Romanian jails or prisons or whatever
and then
it is.
A couple of the named victims actually came out and said, take us off of that list. We're not victims.
Yeah, there were 2 women who came forward. And this is kind of interesting, Allison.
It is.
2 women came forward. They were what? They were like friends of his.
Well, I think maybe
lovers.
They might have been cam girls.
Yeah, I think they were cam girls that worked for him. And they came forward and they were like, we are not victims, you know, like this is like all bullshit. It's not happening. And what's funny about it is that the women got essentially dismissed.
But they're still being treated as victims because they don't have any agency.
Yeah, they're treating them like victims and they're dismissed. So I'm sorry, ladies. You must be traumatized from your experience. Please, you know, go to our like support center and we'll take care of you. And they continue to hold Andrew Tate. And the reason why I think it's interesting is that women who come forward in defense of men, right, when they've been accused, and I know that most of this is a directed thing, like they want him out for whatever reason, they're dismissed and ignored and, you know, maybe even blamed. And I just think that's interesting because they're women and you would think we should be listening to women, but we're not listening to these women because they're the wrong kind of women because they believe in due process.
Well, they also believe in standing up for their own decisions, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they do.
You know, like I did read his website and I'm like, ugh. Blah. But at the other hand, I know that he probably is presenting himself in a particular way to appeal.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea is that he don't need no woman or something, or that he's capable of getting what he wants, seeing that kind of a veneer. Yeah. And so I'm like, how much of this is marketing? How much of this is reality? Is kind of where I'm going at.
For sure.
And to have 2 of his female associates come forward and say that they didn't feel. Of course, I have read that one ex-girlfriend has come forward and alleged, you know, something against him. But so it's basically become a feeding frenzy at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. If a woman is defending men, she's obviously incompetent. And right. Here's the thing, it always lands back on women being incompetent, because if a woman is defending a man, he's somehow seduced her brain, because, you know, men have so much influence over how simpy women are towards men.
In his thrall.
Yeah, she's in his thrall. Oh yes, the return of the thrall.
Exactly.
It's like a parasite in the brain.
Yeah, but if, like, for example, you know, the police officer whose name escapes me, who had sex with like 5 other policemen.
Yeah.
She's now alleging that they groomed her. So, even after all that she said about it being consensual, et cetera, she's going for the they groomed me.
That's funny. It's like she started hearing the word groomer and was like, "Oh, that might work for me." Yeah, because it's like in right now. So I don't know.
Megan Hall. Okay, Megan Hall. All right, so she had sex with, I think, 7 police officers, and now she's alleging that she was groomed. And what's interesting about this is that now that she's abdicating her agency, but now that she's getting publicity over this, she is giving up responsibility for her choices because they ended up biting her in the ass. And that's okay. Like, society's like, yeah, that's fine. That's actually what women should do. When their choices bite them in the ass, they should give up all responsibility and sense of accountability so that we can save them from themselves. So that's okay.
That's an interesting tactic for a police officer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like, she's supposed to be able to manage to control situations that normal civilians aren't, but now she's in the thrall.
Right.
The thrall of these 7 men who decided they really, really, really wanted to have sex with one woman or something.
Yeah.
I think if it's multiple men, it's not the men driving it generally.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like that's not usually the arrangement that men tend to want to go for. But yeah, whatever. Who knows? Anyway, we'll see how far she gets with this. Like, I don't know if. Oh yeah, I think she's suing them.
She's what?
Suing him?
Oh, suing.
Maybe that she's. Oh yeah, she is. She files a lawsuit, claims she was groomed by fellow officers.
Wow.
Oh, this crapping Christ.
Okay.
Well, if that goes through, if she wins her lawsuit, then officially women can just basically say, yeah, I wasn't a consenting adult at any point. Like,
yeah.
I may have been 36, Your Honor, but I just stopped being a consenting adult at all for that period of time, which I regret doing.
But we trust her with a gun and to arrest
And a
people.
vote.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get down to brass tacks. Like, we trust women with the vote, and they can abdicate agency like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Like, come on. Get one or the other. Either you are responsible for your behavior and your actions and are thus a person who can be afforded responsibility over society, or you aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Choose a lane, or reality will choose one for you and you won't enjoy it. Oh man. Anyway, so my overall point was, we take away women's agency when they say things we don't like, and we allow them to abdicate their own agency whenever.
Yeah.
But nobody's like, maybe actually we need to hold women accountable if we're going to give them responsibility.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, no. We'll survive. Our society will survive with half of it being held to no account for their actions and given legal power over the other half. That's tenable. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, really. Okay. I got a super chat. I'm just gonna read it really quick.
Sure.
Amasang gives us $5 and says, "Your stream's video is better than my stream's audio was. 2.5 hours of static." Well, I don't.
Aww.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, man. All right. Back. That's all I got. Back to the article. Unless there's super chows that I should know about.
Oh yes, there was a super chow. Would you like me to read that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and I also have a thank you. Meredith G gives us $5 and says, "Maintaining frame 36. Welcome back, Brian." Maybe I should say that more enthusiastically. Welcome back, Brian. Honey for the Badgers. Super chows are always better than super chats.
Yes, they are. Thank you. Is Meredith, right? Yeah, Meredith G.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm going to do my best to be around. So hopefully I'll see you. Well, I should see you guys tomorrow, I think. If I feel at least as good as this, then I should be good to go tomorrow for the news show. Like the old days of your... okay.
Should I continue?
Yeah, you should
no, I got to thank you.
Oh, she's got to thank you.
XNE. I'm not going to say anything more. Wait, no. Health Potion Addict gives us $100. So thank you, Health Potion Addict.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. And if you'd like to join our very generous supporters, once again, it's feedthebadger.com/support to make sure that these shows keep coming to help us cover the expenses for the month. And hopefully we will be able to finish our month and then get a little bit towards Brian's income for next month so that he is assured, well, he'll be assured no matter what, but it's just nice to take the stress off our shoulders. So once again, feedthebadger.com/support. And also, if you would like to send us a message, that is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right.
All right,
How
should I
do
continue?
I'm being told
Yes.
I have Rumble rants, but I don't think it started on Rumble. Oh yeah, it did. Sorry, I'm gonna read those. NobaFan21 gives us $1 and say feminists don't care if innocent guys get their lives ruined with zero forgiveness. Also, feminists blame men for not being successful by women's standards. And then he gives another $1 and says that officer brings new meaning to the idea of an underage 21-year-old woman, that gym victim wannabe. Okay, thank you.
Ladies, you're arguing yourself back into a harem.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, we don't want...
Well, maybe it's still streaming, but the name is wrong or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Allison. What were you saying?
No, I was just whining about all of this. Like, this... There's, at some point, something's got to break. And it's like, why can't we just hold women accountable?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for their choices. Like, you make a choice in this context, you don't get any freebies.
Yeah.
This is your choice, and the consequences of that choice are yours as well. It's just frustrating. Because they do that when a woman is not ideologically aligned with them. They certainly will deliver consequences for that, but not according to a woman's behavior or choices.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue.
Okay.
This isn't a long article, but we should probably get through it.
Tate gained infamy last year after being banned on most major social media platforms for promoting a variety of aggressively misogynistic positions designed to stir controversy and draw attention to his brand.
I just want to say on this one, like, obviously they're always going to make these accusations. And the problem with this is, the reason why this is a tactic, is that, like, the average person isn't going to investigate these claims that they're making. They're just going to, like, accept it. And one of the reasons why, I think, is the anti-male bias that we just have, right? So if you hear, oh yeah, this guy, he did this terrible thing. And if in particular, if he did a terrible thing to a woman, and you just say, yeah, that's just what happened, then the average person's going to believe it. They're just going to say, okay, well, that guy's a piece of shit. And, you know, I just think...
Yeah, the other thing is there's no fine...
that these things, like, this is all, you know, meditated.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the other thing. Like, we get the same stuff thrown at us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like there's no differential between what Andrew Tate gets thrown at and what we get thrown.
Yeah.
Like they just use the same buzzwords every single time.
Yep.
And the question is, if they use the same buzzwords against Andrew Tate as they do against people like us, what is it that they're really reacting to? Is it really Andrew Tate's so-called misogyny? You know, what his behavior towards women, his objectification or whatever else? And, you know, like, I think that Andrew Tate seems a little sleazy. I don't know. Maybe I should look into it more. From what I've seen of his own words, he seems a bit sleazy. But we get the same thing as he does. And what do we talk about?
Yeah.
We talk about men's issues. Yeah. You know, boys being discriminated in school. Men having no recourse if they're victims of domestic violence or rape. You know, we talk about incredibly legitimate things, and we get the same label as Andrew Tate. Yeah. I don't think Andrew Tate necessarily well, maybe he does. I don't know about that stuff like that. But
yeah,
and they will also label places like Cafe, who provides services for men with the same brush. Mm-hmm. So they say, oh yeah, this is about Andrew Tate. It's not about Andrew Tate, because you do this to us too. And we have an entirely different message from Andrew Tate. Yeah. So it seems more like something else is triggering this behavior. And I think it's actually caring about men.
Yeah.
You don't want to care about men. You just want an excuse not to care about men.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And Andrew Tate, I guess, helps with that. But let's continue, because the article goes into some interesting territory a little deeper in after they get their Hail Marys out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Or their usual like liturgical chant out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. But while widespread public attention was drawn to Tate only recently, his reputation as a thought leader and top G in the online manosphere community has been long-standing. Citation needed.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Who calls him a top G?
Who calls anybody a top G?
Also, I mean, we get lumped in with the manosphere. We're probably not really the manosphere. I don't think the manosphere likes us. But
maybe that's Tate's own words, top G. I could see him saying something like that.
Anyway, you were saying?
No, I just like I don't remember. I mean, I think we're in very different wheelhouses, which again is the issue. Like,
well, there's some overlap, I think. But
there's some overlap, but for the most part, we I think are in a different wheelhouse, a little bit different. Like maybe he talks about some of the issues that we talk about. Yeah. I think we go at it at a different, and certainly we're hardly as successful as him.
Yeah, there's a Venn diagram, and there's a little overlap there.
Yeah,
but
maybe that's what they're talking about. The fact that places.
Yeah, but these people, they don't care about that. Like they're not interested in separating, like, men's rights activists, even in general, and the honey badgers from the manosphere community that, and guys like Tate. They don't care about that. Like they just like the association. So.
Well, it's convenient for them.
Yeah, it is. It is. It lets them.
But I'm pointing it out. I'm pointing out that they tar us with the same brush that they tarred Andrew Tate, and our focus is, I'm pretty sure, quite different. There may be some overlap.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Indeed, Tate's ability to stoke and exploit the anxieties and grievances driving the manosphere are unprecedented.
Yeah.
And have played a key role in him amassing millions of fans and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay. Don't care about that. He can have whatever number of fans he wants. How many fans is fucking... Stalin was popular. All right, go ahead.
The lure of the manosphere.
And how much of this is the media driving it because Tate's their new darling?
Yeah. I think the media loves him. That's another thing. Like, I mean, he's, not a threat to them. It's not really, I don't think he's a threat to anyone, but, they just like using him. He's perfect. So, all right, go ahead.
The manosphere is an overlapping collection of online men's support communities that have emerged as a response to feminism, female empowerment, and the alienating forces of neoliberalism. This is actually kind of
fair and on point. It's true.
Well, this is widely understood. A lot less energy has been directed to understanding why and how men are attracted to these extreme communities in the first place.
So now,
extreme.
Well, all of that stuff we just described is extreme.
Is that extreme?
Yeah.
Men looking for support online.
Blaming
extreme.
Blaming feminism, female empowerment, and the alienating forces of neoliberalism is extreme. What do you mean by neoliberalism? You mean like what they like to term late stage capitalism?
I don't know.
Like, I thought that's okay.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, no, neoliberalism is basically like liberalizing the economy around the globe. So it is a fundamental driver of what they would term late stage, or people on the socialist spectrum would term late stage capitalism. Sure. So the idea that you're considering an extremist that men are upset over the effects of late stage capitalism is a little bit odd to me, but okay.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is the extremism is saying that the responsibility is feminism and female empowerment, like it laying the blame on at the feet of those two things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So literally they went to exclude men and say that the future is female. Let's just use that phrase, the future is female. The people who use the term the future is female are just why do men feel alienated?
Yeah, I know.
Why do men feel that that sense of alienation is radiating from people who say the future is female? How are they making that? That's so extreme to make the connection between these two things. There's no connection. They're just saying that. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to sip my tea and just watch people be stupid, I guess.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. All right.
All right. So where were we?
The manosphere's appeal can be perplexing, particularly for parents, teachers, or friends trying to make sense of how the men in their lives suddenly adopt aggressively misogynistic views.
Oh my God.
Is it really that perplexing? Because I think there's a lot of women who are also like, this is insane at this point.
Yeah. Well, there clearly are. I see like anti-feminist women that I've never seen before online.
Can I click this? The link.
Yeah.
Online hierarchy of credibility that fuels influencers like Andrew Tate.
2020. 2023. This is actually a brand new article. So there was a link in that paragraph. Close that, and then close that.
I can't see this. I have
I know, it's okay. And it's called "What's the Matter with Men?" And the subtitle is "They're floundering at school and in the workplace. Some conservatives, which obviously they're not allowed to have an opinion on anything, blame a crisis of masculinity. But the problems and their solutions are far more complex. So basically, don't look too close. You're not going to solve this problem. We just have to teach men or boys to be more feminine, and everything will be fine. I mean, that's my guess. That's always what it is. So,
well, I mean, they say the future is female, and then when you read the first paragraph, and when I read it the first time I went through this article, I was thinking, well, okay, what's your name? Mr. Ben Rich, and also his handmaiden. Mr. Rich, what do you think is causing this response? Like he never presents an actual causal element. He just says it's not this. It can't be this. It's extreme to think it's feminism and female empowerment that's driving men's alienation, even though feminists and female empowerment, the people who embrace that, are the ones who are saying the future is female. Well, if you're excluding men from the future, don't you think that they're going to feel excluded? Like,
you might.
Maybe a little.
Maybe. So
they got a big sign on their door saying "No men allowed," and the men are outside milling, and they're like, "Well, I guess we're not allowed." How dare you feel excluded? Like that's an extreme position. How dare you feel excluded by us just because we have the sign saying you're not allowed in? What?
Yeah.
Or they go start their own group that supports each other, and they're like, "What are you doing? That's extreme."
Well, that is extreme.
Yeah. Then they go over. They say, "But you have a sign that says we're excluded." Well, how dare you? How dare you assume that we're the one excluding you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is beyond. This isn't even a thought process. This is just this is a joke. This is like a punchline to a joke.
It's the mainstream way we're looking at our society.
This isn't even a lens. It's just insanity.
Yeah, isn't there somewhere they're giving courses to teachers about Andrew Tate,
teachers are teaching their
way to
school and middle school kids about the dangers of Andrew Tate.
Okay, great way to spread the message there, guys.
Basically the new Slender Man.
But the thing is that these kids are not being alienated by, literally the people who are alienating these kids, these boys, are telling them where to go to not be alienated.
Yeah.
Geez, that's really going to work out for you guys. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, they just want their tentacles in those kids' brains. They just don't want anyone else to have
I know,
it.
but that's what I'm saying. They're simultaneously with putting up their signs, no boys allowed.
Yeah.
They are telling these boys, oh, by the way, even though you're not allowed here, you're allowed over there. And then they turn their back, and then all the boys are over by Andrew Tate. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Also, we're gonna make sure nobody knows about Andrew Tate by teaching courses about how nobody should know about Andrew Tate. It'll make them less famous, I'm sure.
The one thing you kids should do is avoid contact with Andrew Tate, who lives at this address.
Don't think about this man.
Yeah. Do not give this man the time of day.
Okay.
He's super bad, kids. Don't look him up.
Yeah, it's terrible if you do. You'd be totally rebelling against authority if you were to look up Andrew Tate.
Yeah, right?
I know, as a young teenager, you are 100% against doing anything but what our school marmish teachers are telling you to do.
Yep.
Oh,
for your
God.
own good, of course.
It's almost like he hired these people as his PR, you know? He's like, how can I extend the reach of my brand? I know. Let's get in the school curricula.
Yeah, right.
Self-defeating. Okay.
All right. So where were we?
I think, but while the community's content presents deeply concerning perspectives on women, it also offers explanations for and solutions to a very real set of issues facing young men.
All right.
Okay. What is the deeply concerning perspective on women?
Tranche?
Yeah, what's a tranche?
I don't know what a tranche is.
Okay.
Whoever this is trying to sound smart.
Yeah.
It's working. I don't know what that means.
We just say a lot.
Okay, let me.
What?
A tranche.
TRANCHE.
A portion of something, especially money.
See,
Are you free? This isn't even right. Okay.
Kind of stupid.
All right. What do they mean by deeply concerning perspectives on women? Does that mean that we connect women's choices and actions to the consequences of those choices and actions? Like, we're like, okay, if you all choose to go after the same men, you will all be going after the same men. Yeah. And there's consequences to that. And is that what you're talking about? Like, deeply concerning perspectives on women? That women's actions have any effect in their lives or in the greater world? Like, this is the thing. This is what I want to isolate here. I want to put this weird bug that's in these people's brains to say shit like this, pull it out and put it in a jar so we can all look at it. This is a sex role or a gender role. This idea that we completely remove the causal arrow between women's choices and actions and the consequences of those choices and actions. And we completely remove it.
Yeah.
And this is something that we do. And this is something that doesn't need to be done. This is not a necessary feature of human thought. We don't have to do this. We just do it in this society. This is a thing that we do. I just want to point that out. Like, this is not something that everybody has to do. This is not it's necessarily something that every culture does, but we do it. And we somehow think that this is normal and also respectful for women, is to just be like, yeah, no, there's absolutely no causal arrow between women's choices and actions and the consequences of those choices and actions. No, somehow a man has to be blamed, you know? But here's the other thing that I've noticed is that when they do that, the people who do this, who say, we're going to just we're going to yoink, take out that causal arrow, and there's going to be no connection between women's choices and actions and their consequences. The other thing that these people do is that they punish women for essentially rewarding or promoting behavior that they don't agree with. And there's an example of this. It was one of the that Asian guy who was really social justice warrior, not Ian.
That could be any.
Yeah, it could be anyone.
Lefty-oriented Asian guy. What? I'm sorry, I don't know.
The
Is it
name
an
isn't really
actor
critical.
or a
No,
celebrity of
he's
some
like a
kind?
commentator on Twitter or something. And
Oh,
the name isn't really critical. It's the behavior. There was a woman who inadvertently supported like Gamergate or some so-called far-right
oh, you're
cause.
talking about Arthur Chu.
Yes, there was she was probably a sex worker
Oh,
who
I remember
inadvertently supported, like it was completely out of her control
Yeah.
that she ended up supporting or rewarding this person. Arthur Chu had a conniption and wanted to freaking crucify this girl for inadvertently. So this wasn't even the consequences of her own choices or actions. It was just she inadvertently gave succor to the enemy. And
Yeah.
he wanted to crucify her for that. So instead of judging women based on their actions and their choices, these people judge women on whether or not they reward men for something that they disagree with. They give succor to the enemy, even if it's unintentional. So, and they will murderize those women, or they'll murderize the social, like the reputation of those women just based on that. And it's like, so they do hold women to account, but it has nothing to do with women's choices. It just has to do with whether or not their womanhood was used to reward a man for doing the wrong thing, even if it was against their will or outside of their control. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like Chu sees women like objects that dispense recognition to men. And if an object does it wrong, then you simply you decommission it.
Yeah.
You remove it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they've changed judging women based on their actions and consequences as moral individuals and human beings to judging them based on whether or not they dispense the correct amount of approval to men. It's disgusting. This whole concept of what women is repulsive and degrading and immoral, and if anything is objectifying, this is it. And they do the same thing with Andrew Tate's female acquaintances that spoke out for him. They essentially said, well, you're not giving recognition in the right way, so we are going to deny we're going to deny that you've said this. We're just going to completely deny it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what is that? Is that supposed to be an improvement on historical gender roles? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, women are not people who make choices. No, they're dispensers of approval who can be decommissioned even if they dispense approval without any intent to a man who is not a good man or not considered to be more ideologically correct. So again, instead of seeing women as agents, moral agents, with that causal arrow in place between their actions and their consequences, we see women merely as dispensers. And if they malfunction, what do you do with a malfunctioning unit? You decommission it. You throw it in the trash heap. It's like, okay, improvement, is it? I don't think so. So when you say, I, as somebody who's supposedly part of the manosphere, even though I don't think the manosphere wants me, but no doubt this person would put me in the manosphere. If you say I have a deeply concerning perspective on women, I think you have a deeply concerning perspective on women.
Yeah.
And that was my long ass explanation for that.
It's all right. Do we have any, because it's like we're at the hour.
Yeah,
so,
how are you doing?
Me? Oh no, I'm okay. So what I was gonna ask is, are there any thank yous or super chows to give out?
We do have another super chow.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I want to remind everyone to send your messages to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you would like to help out for the month, please go to feedthebadger.com/support. And we got one from Egregious Charles, who says, who gives us $5 and says, seems weird to talk about Tate without mentioning that his business model is emotional manipulation of lonely men via catfishing, and he's on video bragging about it.
Yeah.
I hope you're not referring to us, but yeah, it does seem weird.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, again,
honestly,
I didn't really want to talk about Tate specifically because I don't think this article is about Tate.
no, it's not ultimately.
No.
But I do want to say something to that. That's why I say that I think a lot of the men who are sort of into the Tate perspective, and it might be just entertainment as well, I don't think that they're necessarily as self-aware.
Right.
And the thing is that what Tate offers is probably a kind of lukewarm paddling pool where you can still feel like you don't have to go dive into the deep end of men's vulnerability in society. You can still feel a sense of control through him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me speculating.
Also, while Tate might be, making money off of the loneliness of men and all that, which I've thought about, the fandom is a community, and they help each other out. So, if you're really lonely, like that sounds really appealing, and you don't necessarily have to pay for, at least as far as I know, you don't have to pay for everything. You just need to like hang out in those circles. Like maybe you have like there's like someone who makes YouTube videos where they have like clips, right? And the men go there and they talk to the other men there. So I'm just saying it may still have some hidden benefits that I can acknowledge. So all right, so that was the Super Chow, and I guess that's it. So, babe,
yeah, let's try to get further along.
Yeah.
All right. A tranche?
We already.
Yeah, it's both.
That was
like that is not even a word.
Tranche.
A segment of data illustrates
these growing challenges. Men are rapidly falling behind in education, engagement, and outcomes. Rates of young male economic inactivity have risen considerably over the past 2 decades. The intimate relations of young men also appear to be in decline. One report suggests rates of sexual activity have dropped by nearly 10% since 2002. Suicide rates have risen significantly in men, in particular, over the past decade.
Okay.
We're also facing a loneliness crisis, which is particularly concentrated in young people and men. Manosphere appeals to its audience because it speaks to the very real lives of young men under the above factors: romantic rejection, alienation, economic failure, loneliness, and a dim vision of the future.
Okay, so this is this part where they acknowledge what's going on, but here's where my question really becomes salient.
Is that extreme though?
Is it what?
Well, is their reaction to what we just went over: romantic rejection, alienation, economic failure, loneliness, and a dim vision of the future, going online, finding a community, is that extreme?
I guess so. No, it's extreme because they identify the people putting the sign on their door saying "No boys allowed" as not allowing boys. Okay, because this is the thing that one, that, and two, this individual, Mr. Rich, doesn't offer any other explanation for why this is happening. Like, it's really difficult for people to undergo something that is harming them mentally and just be like, we're not allowed to look at the factors of why this is happening. Like, literally, like I said, the whole thing boils down to this. People like Mr. Rich and all of the cronies of this system put a sign on their door that says "No boys allowed." And the boys see the sign and they're like, we're not allowed. And then they turn around and say, you can't say that the sign is making you feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, This is what you're doing, Mr. Rich. This is the result of the policies that you're advocating for.
Yeah. Yeah, he says that in the next paragraph.
Yep.
All right, let's hit it.
The major problem lies in its diagnosis of the cause of male disenfranchisement, which fixates on the impacts of feminism. That's not the real problem.
It lies in the major problem. Yeah. Disenfranchisement. Male disenfranchisement, which fixates on the impact of feminism.
Did I mess that up?
Oh, you just kind of rolled over the words.
Disenfranchisement.
Okay,
Yes.
Here, I'll do it. The major problem lies. This stuff.
Why is
it's
it a
not
problem?
Intended to be clear. It's intended to hypnotize. The major problem lies in its diagnosis of the cause of male disenfranchisement, which fixates on the impacts of feminism. Let me clarify this. The major problem lies in the boys pointing to the sign saying, "No boys allowed," to say, "This is what's making us feel excluded."
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. If you just stopped doing that, it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're not going to include you, but if you could stop blaming us for excluding you, I just shut up. Just shut up and go away, then we would definitely start to continue not to include you. Like what? Okay.
Makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does. Here it contrasts with the growing challenges faced by men. Why are they growing? What's causing them to grow? With the increasing social, economic, and political success experienced by women. Here it contrasts. So the increasing social, economic, and political success that we're seeing in women, spurred on by a movement that never looks at the situation for men before asserting that women have it worse and need more assistance in being successful. Okay, this is what's contrasting. So you're part of a movement. Okay, this is what I'm going to get at. You're part of a movement that never looks at the situation for men before asserting that women need more help. Right?
Yes.
And we can't say, "Hey, wait, maybe you're helping women well beyond the situation for men. You're not creating equality anymore. And maybe you need to measure the other side before you are asserting there is inequality." And what we're finding is that the group of people that you are 100% championing and making sure is now out ahead. And the group of people that you're ignoring is falling behind. And that's what we're finding. But we can't blame you for that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of an analogy that would make this clear to people, how absurd this is. All right. They keep giving women money. And the men point out, "Hey, women have more money."
Yeah.
And they say that, pointing that out, oh God, sorry, this is not working because I just realized something else that was just dumb. They say that they excuse this as getting rid of the artificial men, right? This is men experiencing a loss of their privilege.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay. So they say that this is men experiencing.
And don't forget the restorative justice.
Restorative justice.
Yeah.
Now we have to, just as a meta statement, we got to chew through this because this is a lot of sophistry, and I need to find a fundamental ground underneath all of this sophistry, and explain why this is absolutely 100% not just wrong but absurd.
Mm-hmm.
So this group of people uncritically advances women everywhere they can, and is upset that people point out that they're uncritically advancing women everywhere they can, never look at the situation for men, and now men are falling behind. And they refuse to acknowledge that might be a contributing factor for why men are falling behind. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I've just confused everything.
No, I think they get it, right, guys? Right, chat? Are you following? All right. Well, I'll wait while I wait for them to respond. We'll continue with the article. See how
Okay.
far we can get. Is it the
Do you want to go,
diagnosis?
Lindsay? It's
Did
this
you go with that
zero
already?
sum.
Yeah, I think we were here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. No, it sounds like it's right. So this zero-sum claim posits that female empowerment most necessarily equates to male disempowerment and is evidence through simplified and pseudoscientific theories of biology and socioeconomics. So they're basically saying that, and I don't know why they just don't say this, MRAs or the manosphere claims that it's a zero-sum game, and the more that women get, the more that...
Well,
this is a very common... It's a common argument. I think there's
well, how can they argue it otherwise? Like, one position, a man or a woman can get it. It's a female empowerment for the woman to get it. The man doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, this is, and also, this zero-sum claim posits that female empowerment, this is also projection. Because I have seen over and over and over again behavior that indicates that any kind of recognition of men's needs and vulnerabilities, for example, domestic violence, if we recognize male victims, suddenly all victims are out in the cold.
Yeah.
Like, this is 100% projection. And not just that, it is a situation where men are being excluded for favor for women. They're watching women get into positions because of diversity hire efforts. They're watching themselves being looked for scholarships.
Yep.
I mean, this is well beyond just getting rid of the barriers to entry. Now there's all this whole entire framework to try to get women into these jobs, to give them assistance that men never had in order to create equality. And it's like the men are 100% facing a world in which it's harder for them to find work than it is for a woman. And when you make it harder for men to find work than it is for a woman, men are not going to be, by definition. Like, this individual wants reality to be something other than what it is. And again, at no point will they measure the situation for men and cool their jets on giving women more. I mean, they're going to create equality. Yeah, sure. But by the time they're going to create equality, they're going to make, so they're going to do the same thing they did with athletics. Instead of actually creating equality, so equal numbers of women in the football on a women's football team, they're just going to get rid of football entirely. So what they're going to do is they're going to destroy entire industries, creating equality. They're going to completely annihilate entire industries trying to create equality because women aren't as interested in those industries. And the only thing that isn't going to be touched are those things that nobody thinks that women should be in, like picking up garbage, being linemen, getting on cherry pickers and fixing electricity, all of that crap. Nobody thinks that women are going to need to be there.
Yeah, of course. We don't need equality in garbage collecting. And also industries that are already overwhelmingly dominated by women. And they're just like, well, we try to make room for men, but I think it's fine the way it is. So like nursing, education, So, shall we continue?
Yeah, let's just skip the Twitter.
Skip to Twitter. Oh yeah, sure. I'm not gonna look.
For many young men, their introduction to the manosphere begins not with hatred of women, but with a desire to dispel uncertainty about how the world around them works, and crucially, how relationships work. The foundations of the manosphere may not strictly center on misogyny, as is popularly imagined, but in young men's search for connection, truth, control, and community at a time when all are increasingly ill-defined.
All right.
Profiteering off anxiety. Since its inception, the manosphere has been rife with predatory influencers seeking to profit off the anxieties unleashed by this ambiguity. Driven by a desire to reassert a romantic masculine aesthetic, ideal in a world of social media unrealities, members of the manosphere often become willing consumers of a wide variety of products and services to solve their problems. These range from vitamin and gym supplements, personal coaching, self-help courses, and other subscription-based services.
Wow, sounds
Could you
self-destructive.
imagine? Yeah. Should you imagine if we had this level of vituperative scrutiny of women's stuff?
I was
Yeah.
thinking
These
the same
range
thing, like,
from crystals and secret books.
yeah.
But they also, I mean, I don't think it's
subscription makeup boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. What are in those things, Lindsay?
Plastic
They could be
surgeries.
super dangerous and anti-establishment.
Nose jobs.
You know, like
those like lip injections that so many women get.
Like, I am honestly shocked at the number of women that I know personally that have all had work done. Yeah.
Are you just being facetious, or is that true?
No. I mean, I haven't talked to them in years, but like they had work done on their face. I didn't know. I thought it wasn't, like they, that they'll make you think that it's a little thing. Like, oh, I'm just getting some, some shape stuff for my jaw and my cheeks. And I wouldn't notice, but they do. And so this, I guess it's cosmetic surgery. We don't have to call it plastic surgery. It's something that a lot of women get involved in. It's not a small group of nutty chicks that are making their lips out to be like, Janice from Electric Mayhem. It's way more common than I thought it would be. So, and I'm just saying that's like, men that want to take steroids or,
supplements,
or they're overly concerned with, like how swole they are and all that. It's basically the same thing, but of course we got to treat it differently when it's men.
Well, yeah, that's like, I'm looking at this and it's, so what? Like, could you imagine having this level of scrutiny towards things that women do? Like, give it up, all right? Just give this up, okay?
It is super weird.
Yeah, these individuals are really freaking weird. I don't think they realize they come across as being sort of stalkery and weird.
You could write this whole thing about women's social media unrealities and members of the Instagram, I don't know, fitness also, model. Like, I don't know.
And also the female dating strategy subreddit, which is just hellish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep going though.
But the influencers aren't just capitalizing on a sense of crisis passively. They actively cultivate it, as our research shows. Figures like Tate, Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson, and alpha strongman Elliot Hulse, haven't heard that name in a while, expend huge amounts of energy and capital fomenting a sense of crisis around these issues and positioning themselves at the center. No more clearly was this illustrated than in Tate's Hustlers University, which created a series of exclusive chat rooms promising men a solution to their fears and centered on Tate's personage, is that how you say that? And teachings.
Okay, so basically sort of a new pickup artist thing.
But I don't think these men, Jordan Peterson, Elliot Hulse, or Tate, created the problem or the sense of crisis.
Yeah, they didn't create the crisis.
No,
They're responding
these people
to
did.
it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, okay, so this paragraph, The paragraphs where they talk about the problems facing men. And male economic inactivity have risen considerably. This is actually not, honestly, these aren't problems facing men. These are problems facing society.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Because if you have this level of young men unengaged in your society is dying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would say. But the economic inactivity, the suicide rate, the lowering in sexual activity, the loneliness crisis, all of this stuff. If this was what I just finished reading a CDC article on how girls are more depressed now, and it's a crisis. So how is it different that these guys are saying that this is a crisis? These issues that men and boys face are a crisis. And they're fermenting a sense of crisis. How is that different than the CDC fermenting a sense of crisis around the incredible increases in depression among young men or young women? I mean, teenage girls. Like, how is that different? Or alternatively, why aren't we seeing a sense? Why don't you have a sense of crisis, Mr. Rich, over these issues facing men and boys? Like, why are you just sort of floating there saying, well, we didn't do it? Like, why don't you have a fire under your ass over this stuff? Why is it that you seem to talk about this, maybe I'm wrong, only when it is to say, well, don't go there for the answer? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah, women.
Well, it's not exactly what I said. I just sort of deteriorated into gibberish.
Oh, I see. I misheard you.
Yes, it's better just to assume that I'm saying gibberish than anything concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Next paragraph.
All right. Such communities solidify the claims made by their leaders, creating feedback loops, a climate of tension and hysteria. Members are actively encouraged to ridicule those who aren't willing to acknowledge the feminist conspiracies that supposedly underpin the social and political world. Non-believers are seen as contemptible, weak, and ignorant, dismissed through an ever-growing newspeak lexicon as simps, cucks, and betas.
Okay.
The community...
we don't know. I need to address this. Who aren't willing to acknowledge the feminist conspiracies. So the feminists put the sign up, no boys allowed. And if you aren't willing to say maybe that's a contributing factor to this problem, they're like, well, I don't think that you're going to be part of the solution. Well, duh.
Yeah.
Like you are literally saying that the future is female. We are literally excluding boys. We are going to ignore their problems, except when some unaesthetic thing happens like Andrew Tate, and then suddenly we're going to write articles like this. But, if there was no Andrew Tate, we would just continue to ignore the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And again, these aren't boys' problems. These are society's problems. Because you are going to see, probably fairly shortly, and shortly in human epoch is like within 50 years, how important it is to keep your boys engaged in the work of continuing your society.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're skating on, world reserve currency. And the whole West is really skating on world reserve currency. But if it should ever be in the future that the West actually needs to be productive in order for its currency to have value, because usually in the past, a currency had value because you could buy things with it, because the country with that currency was making stuff.
Yeah.
If ever in the future that has to happen again, we are really going to feel the fact that most young men are no longer productive, in Western societies. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a really uncomfortable lesson to us about the importance of keeping young men engaged and productive. We can sit here and coast in our post-feminist world because it's underpinned by what they like to call late-stage capitalism. Late-stage capitalism is signing the checks that people like this are writing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. Okay. Go ahead.
The community can also be mobilized to spread the message and brand of the influencer to the wider public as demonstrated by Tate. Having successfully isolated and indoctrinated community members, influencers can then rely on them as a persistent source of support and revenue, allowing them to further reinvest and continue this cycle of growth. This suggests a key way to push back on the wider effects of the manosphere is the targeted disruption of such feedback loops and the prevention of future ones emerging. That doesn't sound ominous at all.
Yeah.
Ominous.
Are you freaking kidding? Like, okay, so we have a crisis of boys, but the real issue is that boys feel like they have any place to go. Boys and men feel like they're heard anywhere. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, the real issue is that when feminists put up a sign that says no boys allowed, that boys point to that sign and saying that's why we're feeling excluded. The real issue is that we need to get like a whole bunch of hand slappers out to slap boys' hands whenever they say that or point at the sign. Like, God damn. Well, okay, way to be part of the problem there, Mr. Rich.
Well, of course. I mean,
and this is what's important to them. This is what's important. Okay, suicide? Nah, we don't give a fuck. Loneliness? Who gives a shit? They deserve it. They aren't desirable to women, so yeah, fuck them. You know, like depression? But you know, men find some place where they feel heard. God damn, we got to stop that shit.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And then when people point that out, when people point that this attitude that they have, and they're calling themselves feminists, so it's mostly from feminists, like the trad-cons aren't much better, but the feminists, you know, you point out, well, maybe the attitude that it's more important to control men than to care about them is the problem, and that attitude is really prevalent among feminists. You point that out, and you're part of the conspiracy, you see?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, God. Good Lord.
Right.
Oh, and then they okay.
No. Go ahead.
No. We have to read the last few paragraphs, friend.
Yeah, I know. We're at the end. All right.
So the header of this one is empathy, patience, and support.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that we're going to get that.
Sounds nice. All right. Tate and the manosphere didn't manifest spontaneously. They're symptoms of a deeper set of challenges young men are facing. These problems won't be addressed by simply deplatforming people like Tate. Well, this may often be necessary in the short term.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
For how long?
Savvier influencers will inevitably emerge, responding to the same entrenched issues and employing the tactics to greater effect, while avoiding the mistakes of their predecessors. So, like, it's not about censorship or anything. The problem is if you get rid of one, they're just going to keep growing back.
Yeah.
Like the heads of Hydra or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically a Hydra that you're fighting. Taking down one manosphere guy.
And it's what's amazing is his dumbfounded quality. Like, once again, he's put up a big sign, no boys allowed, and boys are looking at it and saying, hey, we're feeling excluded. And he's like, how dare you believe in a feminist conspiracy?
Yeah.
How dare you believe that is the consequence of feminism's actions, even though that's explicitly what we're saying we're doing. Jesus Christ.
Yep. Don't care.
Oh my God. Okay.
All right.
In confronting the manosphere, we need to understand and take seriously its appeal to lost men and the centrality of influencers in the process. We can be as critical. We can be as critical of it as we want to be. But we also need to understand what it provides for many, a community and place of belonging, a defined enemy, direction, certainty, solutions to deep and systematic issues, and perhaps, most importantly, hope. We also need to avoid the knee-jerk stigmatizing and dismissal of people who fall into the manosphere. Simple ostracism tends only to entrench attitudes and reinforce the narratives of persecution spun by Tate and his ilk. Instead, we need to use empathy, tolerance, and patience to support men in ways that lead them away from these unpleasant burrows of the internet and make them feel connected with wider society.
Okay. We need to use empathy, tolerance, and patience to support men to do with actually caring about their problems. And me pointing that out, that this is what he's saying, is of course pointing out is engaging in feminist conspiracy making. Like, this is the best. This is probably the best we've ever seen from feminists in regards to this.
At least in the places where there is some sympathy being expressed, yeah, it's probably the best. And I think it's the best we'll ever see. And it still isn't good.
It's still framing men and boys as the problem.
Uh-huh.
Instead of having a problem, and even more importantly, them having that problem being a problem for all of us.
Yeah. And I think it's also framing like the utility of men as the true benefit, not necessarily, men for men's sake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they talk about how, men are not in the workforce and all these other things, and I think there's some concern over that. And I'm just like, yeah, but why aren't we, you should be helping men because you should be helping men. So, because they deserve it.
Yeah, well, that final paragraph pretty much makes it clear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not about these issues. Like, he details all of these issues that if they were women or girls were facing them, would be a cry, would be a crisis.
Oh, yeah.
There'd be $1 million, billion-dollar industry. Like, oh, we got to deal with it. And he's like, but, the real issue is not the pain that men and boys are in. The real issue is that pain might lead them to places that we find unaesthetic.
Yeah.
We don't. They might lead them to listen to people that might say things like maybe they feel excluded because of the boys, don't belong sign, like the boys get out sign. Maybe that's what's making boys feel excluded. Just point it out. These are the messages you've got. Maybe that's why you feel depressed and you self-loathing.
Yeah.
Just if you point that out, you can't do that because that's engaging in creating a feminist conspiracy. And that's what's critical here. Not the fact that men and boys are in pain, but that men and boys believe what you think they should believe, do what you think they should do, and shut up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's going to make them feel connected to the larger society. Why would they feel connected to someone like this, that Mr. Rich, who's prioritizing their effect on him, and even more, I guess, their effect on his ideology over them as people?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should probably, because it sounds like you're fading a bit there, Brian.
I'm winding down. I wasn't gonna say anything right away, but I can feel it. I'll just say that.
Yeah, so we should probably
yeah, we could wrap it up. Do you have do you have any thank yous?
No, actually, after Health Potion Addict, nobody's put anything through. So I'll just say once again,
Super
Feed the Badger. No super chats.
Okay.
After egregious Charles. Once again, please support the show at feedthebadger.com/support. I think we're pretty much the only, we have a unique perspective, which I think is really important, because not only do we recognize the issues that boys and men face, we recognize that these aren't just boys and men's issues. These are societal issues, because you can't ignore the issues of the people who are doing the majority of the work to keep society running.
Yeah.
And that's unavoidable. Like, all of our utilities, if men disappeared, our utilities would disappear. Garbage collection, most of the farming in the West would disappear. Like, so our life is based on the well-being of boys and men and the ability for them to do their jobs. And if you're not going to care about them as people, you're not going to care about their pain, then you should care about that. Because when men and boys have a problem, society has a problem. Vince